What happened in the next 5 minutes totally blew me away. Welcome back to My Travel Window, where we help you travel as far as you can while you still can. The starting video today recreated what happened to me on our last cruise aboard the Holland America's Nieuw Statendam. It was early morning. I was returning to our cabin with freshly brewed specialty lattes and croissants. 2 minutes from the cafe, my balance with the tray slipped and both large lattes went flying. They landed on their sides, popped the lids, and spewed hot liquid everywhere. A total loss, a total mess. Way to go, klutz. Embarrassed and realizing the cleanup was beyond me, I decided to return to the cafe, report the incident, and pay for replacement coffees. As I approached, a manager intercepted me. I started to explain, but he stopped me. Another couple had arrived ahead of me and already told him what happened, and he had already ordered free replacement coffees for my drink. He had requested a cleanup crew to fix my mess. With the warmest of smiles, he said, "Don't worry, these things happen. We're taking care of it."
Well, of course. That's what they're supposed to do.
The barista handed me the new coffee as if I were doing her for a favor by coming back a second time. And in the 5 minutes that elapsed that it took me to get back to the spot of the spill, another crew member was already there preparing to clear the carpet.
Not everybody is impressed with everything. Can I talk about that now?
Well, my evil twin notwithstanding, this is what excellent service looks like. And to me, that's love number one of the Nieuw Statendam and the thing that I think of most when I think of this ship. Not just because of this 5-minute encounter, because that encounter embodies what we saw in every staff interaction in this ship for 25 days that we were on it. We saw it in the stewards, we saw it in the waiters, we saw it in the servers, we saw it in managers, we saw everyone. We've been on 6 different cruise lines, and while we've had good and usually great service on all of them, no one topped this ship for this kind of operational excellence.
So yourself, but this ship isn't perfect. I'll let them know.
No, I'm going to tell everybody why they should come on this ship without you poisoning the air. After I do my 5 loves, then I'll let you spout off. People can leave if they don't want to listen to you.
Stay tuned. We're still going to talk about what they don't do.
You're on soon enough. Let's get to love number 2, the ship design. Among the major cruise lines, Holland America is noted for smaller ships. This ship and her sister ships hold about 2,700 passengers. These are the largest ships in the HAL fleet, but they would be small or medium-sized ships for any other cruise line. In all, my wife and I have sailed on 11 different ships from 6 different lines, and the 2 Holland America ships are the 2 smallest, even this one. So why is it that these 2 ships have a large lounge area called the Crow's Nest in the front of the ship that's open to everyone, where you get a beautiful 180-degree view, and almost none of the other ships can find a way to do that? How is it that this ship has one of the largest and certainly the best stocked game room of any of those ships? How is it their main pool area has a retractable roof? How is it that they can have 3 evening music venues located within steps of each other that have continuous music all night, every night? None of the bigger ships can match this set of characteristics. It's because they've had 150 years of cruise experience, and they've used it to refine their craft. They don't try to be all things to all people. But what they do, they do exceedingly well, and the design of the ship is awesome.
Is it my turn now?
Don't listen to the wet blanket. Let's get to love number 3, the food. Evaluating cruise food can be very subjective, so let me tell you things that we want in a cuisine. First, we want a variety of included food that's good enough that we don't have to dine at a specialty restaurant and still feel like we've had an awesome cruise. And if we do dine at a specialty place, we want it to feel worth it in terms of ambiance and menu. It should feel truly special. We want a buffet that's varied enough that you could eat there every night of the cruise if you wanted to. We don't. But you can do that and still not be feel deprived. If there's a featured meat dish or dessert in the main dining room on a given night, we want to have the option to have it in the buffet as well. And in terms of access, we appreciate the ability to be seated in the dining room at any time, to choose whether we sit at a table with other guests or dine alone and change that night to night. Oh, and room service needs to offer a good complimentary menu. The icing on the cake is if a cruise line can do all of these and still manage to have some special events that add spice. Hal did this with afternoon tea service on sea days, special dessert nights in the buffet, and a delightful main dining room brunch on the final sea day of each trip. On every one of these categories, this ship excelled. The food was outstanding, never had a bad meal. It draws an A in every food category and meets all the criteria we set above. And before my brother comes back, let's get to love number 4, the itinerary.
I heard that.
When you're sailing the Eastern Mediterranean, there's no bad itinerary, but this cruise had several features that we really appreciated. First, a slightly smaller cruise ship can dock at a wider variety of ports. We stopped at 2 Italian ports that the other major cruise lines rarely ever visit, Salerno and Bari. And when you have a tender stop, the logistics are much better if you're ferrying 2,400 people ashore rather than twice that number. We did an overnight in Istanbul, we visited Ephesus and Dubrovnik, 2 of our favorite locations. The ship is also nimble. When a storm damaged the dock the day before our second trip to Salerno, we were able to pivot at the last minute and visit Sorrento instead, allowing most people to keep their same excursions. It turned out to be an excellent stop. And when there were too many cruise ships scheduled to visit Olympia, Greece, they substituted Split, Croatia, in its place. It was a great replacement. Finally, our cruise called for a very short 5-hour stop in Mykonos. But the captain arranged for us to arrive early and stay late, making a hurried stop much more doable. Each of our last 4 sailings have had good itineraries and unexpected adjustments along the way. On the whole, I think Hal planned, managed, and kept passengers informed better than the competition.
Tell them about Rome.
Now I'm going to let you tell them about that, because I'm going to give my last love, and that's value. We usually book a balcony cabin, but this time we decided to book a back-to-back cruise totaling 25 days, and the cost of the balcony was more than we wanted to spend. So we elected to book an inside cabin. We knew it was a port-intensive trip with few sea days, and for port vistas we knew we would have access to the crow's nest, which was one floor directly above our cabin. When the price dropped before final payment, we refared the trip. We wound up paying $86 per person per day. That's an all-in price. That includes taxes, port fees, and gratuities. The only time we've paid a fare less than that on a cruise was when we did a transatlantic. Now, full disclosure, we didn't do any drink or dining packages. But this low price gave us the flexibility to splurge in a few other areas of our trip. We spent days in both Athens before the trip and Rome afterwards. We also opted for a couple of pricey excursions. As a couple, it means we spent $172 a day. If you can find a European adventure that takes you to 5 countries in 25 days, covers your lodging, meals, entertainment, and travel between cities for a price like that, I think you ought to take it. Oh, and remember, in this case, you unpack once. Folks, if you like content like this one and find it useful, please consider subscribing to our channel. I promise I'll give you honest reviews of real trips, lots of tips along the way. For example, this week I'm going to explain how we handle internet while traveling, and it's not using our American phone plan or ship Wi-Fi. Okay, now it's your turn.
Okay, I'm going to be briefer than my brother, who's the motor mouth. And to be honest, I liked the ship. I really did. And I hung out with a few people who were quite vocal about what they didn't like about the ship. So I'm going to be their mouthpiece and give you the things that people don't like. Hate number 1. They did away with Lincoln Center Stage. Every Hal ship has a music walk. One of their venues was the Lincoln Center Stage, a piano and chamber orchestra group that would perform classical and popular numbers in their own venue and sometimes on the main stage. In the last year, Hal has discontinued this except for isolated places on isolated cruises. For many people, it was the best part of the music walk. Hal stated that the reason the venue went away was that Lincoln Center could no longer fulfill the contract. I agree, it is a loss. Hate number 2. There's not enough to do. This ship is about 2/3 the size of most of the cruise ships we've sailed. And if you open the daily program, what you're going to find is there's about 2/3 of the number of activities, maybe even less. What's missing? Well, there's no daily dance classes. There were fewer game shows and educational talks, particularly on sea days. Because of the length and the time of the year, there were only a handful of kids on board, so there were no children's activities. There were more free movie choices than some other ships, and we saw more jigsaw puzzles done on this ship than all of our others put together. But if trivia, game shows, parties, dances are your vibe, this probably ain't your ship. Oh, and back to Rome. The ship was originally going to be overnight in Rome in the middle of the trip. This was replaced with an overnight in Salerno. So let's see, rockin' big city Rome or sleepy Salerno? If you have a free overnight, most people I think would rather have the one in Rome. And on the opposite side, if rocking nights aren't your vibe, then this ship is a winner. Hate number 3. Being special isn't so special. Every major cruise line has its own ship within a ship concept for more discriminating travelers. MSC has the Yacht Club, Norwegian has the Haven, Celebrity has its suite class. They're usually tied to the purchase of more expensive suites. The HAL version of this is Club Orange, which gives you priority boarding and some other perks. But many people staying in ordinary balconies can pay for Club Orange benefits separately, which means that the elite super suite occupants, as well as the hoi polloi on the rest of the ship, who just want early boarding and extra options, can participate. So, my advice is that if you want truly elite service and you don't want to share it with the hoi polloi, you might be better off booking a more exclusive line. I never thought I was special, so I guess that's why I skipped this. Hate number 4. Entertainment sucks. At least in some people's minds. There's no headline show. The ship had the usual mix of nighttime entertainment. They had a dance troupe, they had a singing group, a magician, a comedian, a soloist, a classical pianist. They were all good. No complaints. But there was no signature performance like a Broadway play. It had more diversity than our MSC trip, but nothing that galvanized the crowd and had everybody talking. Now, don't get me wrong, every show was fun and worth the time, but there was nothing on the stage that made me want to text my friends and say, hey, you got to come on this ship just for the entertainment. Finally, number 5. It's Dutch. Dutch is boring. It's funny how cruise ships take on a vibe of a certain country. MSC is an Italian company, but the MSC ship that we went on was cosmopolitan New York City in design. The Norwegian Epic was designed by the French and has that feel. Princess ships have a central piazza, make a big deal out of pizza, serve gelato to give it an Italian feel. Carnival often portrays a beach party feel. So what does a Dutch ship feel like? It's a little quiet and reserved, with quirky art, a cruise director who specializes more in information than inspiration, say, and Dutch things on the menu that even the waiter sheepishly said he couldn't pronounce. Solid, but unspectacular. If you want all-night full ship party, this is not your vessel. If your idea of a good time is enjoying sights, swapping travel stories over a card game or a jigsaw puzzle, listening to an evening of familiar movie, having great dining, then this is probably more your place. We have several more 5 loves and 5 hates video. Some with and some without my obnoxious brother here. So check them out here. And if you let me know in the comments which ones you like, then we can tailor future videos to that. Until next time, safe travels.